South Africa has just witnessed one of the most dramatic moments in its political history. And trust me when I say this, you won't believe what just happened in Parliament. In a stunning twist that left lawmakers gasping in disbelief, ANC heavyweight Mkhwanazi stood up and thundered across the chamber right there on the floor. "Arrest him immediately." His explosive words directed squarely at President Cyril Ramaphosa in the middle of an already growing scandal have shaken the foundations of South African politics. The big question now is this. Was this a bold act of truth-telling, a courageous stand against corruption at the highest level? Or was it a reckless gamble, a dangerous political maneuver that could push an already fragile nation into deeper chaos? Stick around because we are going to break down every angle of this fiery showdown. What led to it? What it means for the president and how it could reshape the ANC itself. And before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you're always the first to know when political earthquakes like this erupt in South Africa. South African politics has never been short of drama. But what Mkhwanazi did inside Parliament has set a brand new bar for confrontation. His demand for President Ramaphosa's immediate arrest wasn't just loud, it was historic. The call came at the peak of mounting pressure over swirling scandals tied to the president. Scandals that have already battered his image at home and abroad. By openly demanding Ramaphosa's arrest right there on the floor of Parliament, Mkhwanazi not only challenged the president's authority, but also dragged the ANC and the entire nation into uncharted political waters. The chamber that day was already tense. MPs were locked in heated debate over the latest revelations surrounding Ramaphosa's alleged misconduct. Then suddenly, Mkhwanazi rose to speak. What followed was nothing short of seismic. With his voice echoing through the chamber and anger etched into his face, he declared, "Arrest him immediately. No one is above the law, not even the president." For a moment, silence fell and then the chamber exploded. Gasps and shouts filled the air. Some MPs pounded their desks in applause while others leapt to their feet in outrage. The speakers struggled desperately to restore order, but the scene had already descended into chaos. To understand this shocking outburst, you have to look at what insiders are saying. According to close sources, Mkhwanazi's fiery words were driven by deep frustration over what he calls a culture of impunity within the ANC. He accused President Ramaphosa of using political power as a shield to avoid accountability, something ordinary South Africans could never dream of doing. And in making that accusation, Mkhwanazi tapped directly into the raw anger felt by millions of citizens. People who have watched scandal after scandal unfold, who have heard endless promises of reform, yet seen very little change. In that one moment, Mkhwanazi became a lightning rod for public anger. His voice wasn't just his own. It carried the frustrations of ordinary South Africans who feel betrayed by leaders more focused on protecting themselves than serving the people. For President Ramaphosa, the timing of this confrontation could not have been worse. Already battling criticism both inside and outside the ANC, this sudden call for his arrest amplified existing doubts about his leadership. Eyewitnesses say Ramaphosa sat visibly shaken as Mkhwanazi delivered his thunderous demand. Later, he tried to defend himself, insisting that due process must always be followed and that no one, including the president, is beyond the reach of the law. But the truth is, the damage was already done. The phrase "arrest him immediately" now hangs over his presidency like a storm cloud, one that won't easily fade away. Every speech, every public appearance, and every ANC meeting will now be shadowed by those words. The fallout was immediate both inside and outside Parliament. Lawmakers split down the middle. Some praised Mkhwanazi for his courage, calling him a hero who finally spoke truth to power. Others condemned him, accusing him of disrespecting the chamber and dragging the nation into dangerous political theater. Outside, social media exploded. Hashtags like #ArrestHimNow and #RamaphosaLexExposed began trending within minutes. Citizens shared videos of the fiery confrontation, debating whether Mkhwanazi was the voice of the people or just another opportunistic politician chasing the spotlight. In some cities, spontaneous protests broke out with groups of citizens calling for immediate accountability. Others, however, warned that such rhetoric could destabilize an already fragile political system. The nation felt split in two. Those who believed this was the beginning of long overdue justice and those who feared it was the start of political anarchy. But perhaps the most significant fallout is happening not in the streets but inside the ANC itself. Mkhwanazi's demand was more than an attack on the president. It was a declaration of war within the ruling party. The ANC is already deeply divided between pro-Ramaphosa loyalists and rival factions that see his leadership as weak and compromised. Now, Mkhwanazi's bold move threatens to deepen those cracks. Some members see him as reckless, a destabilizing force undermining party unity. Others quietly admit that he voiced what many in the party are too afraid to say aloud. This moment could very well mark the beginning of a larger power struggle within the ANC. One that plays out in back rooms, branches, and eventually at the ballot box. The stakes couldn't be higher. South Africa is already grappling with economic instability, sky-high unemployment, and rolling blackouts that have crippled businesses and homes alike. Corruption scandals continue to erode public trust in government institutions. Against that backdrop, Mkhwanazi's words cut deep. For many, they symbolize a growing rebellion against leadership that seems unable or unwilling to rise above scandal and deliver meaningful change. If Parliament itself appears unwilling to hold the president accountable, then what hope is there for ordinary citizens who expect justice? That's the sobering question hanging over the nation tonight. So what does this all mean for President Ramaphosa? Will this fiery confrontation mark the beginning of his political downfall, or will it fade into just another round of political theatre in South Africa's long history of parliamentary drama? Analysts are divided. Some believe Ramaphosa's presidency has been fatally weakened and that opposition parties will now seize this moment to push for impeachment or even criminal proceedings. Others argue that Mkhwanazi may have overplayed his hand and that his dramatic call will only rally Ramaphosa's loyalists around him. Either way, one thing is clear. The phrase "arrest him immediately" has already entered the political lexicon. It will be repeated in headlines, speeches, and campaign rallies for months, if not years to come. So, here's the bottom line. Mkhwanazi's explosive demand in Parliament to arrest him immediately was far more than just a dramatic outburst. It was a political earthquake shaking both the ANC and the nation to their core. It exposed South Africa's growing impatience with scandal, revealed the deep fractures within the ruling party, and cast a dark shadow over Ramaphosa's presidency.